Good morning. It's 6:38 and it's foggy out. There's lots of condensation on the tent. As soon as the sun went down last night, a heavy dew started to fall. So I had to rush to get everything inside the tent. My battery packs are all drained, so I can't charge anything until I dig up my resupply bin, and hopefully the battery pack that I have buried in there is still holding a charge, and I'll be able to charge my cameras. This is where I camped, and all last night I could hear elk bugling, and just on top of that hill I can hear one snorting from time to time. It's pretty close. I might be able to see it if it wakes up and starts walking around. Alright, I have finished sorting through my resupply, packing up everything. I've got my dry suit inside here and my good PFD because I'll be doing some ocean paddling today, or, well, if I can get there today. There's some active logging, I think, on the road that I'm planning to take, and I may have to either wait till they're done for the day, which would be a long wait because it's about 10 a.m. now and they probably don't quit till 4:30 or 5. I only have an 8.3 kilometer walk to the ocean, but as I say, I don't know how it's gonna go. The sky's overcast, which is nice. It's dry at least. This is a notoriously wet part of the world, so anytime it's not raining, it's a plus. Well, I'm about halfway to the ocean on this Spencer Creek, Maine. I've had the same logging truck drive past me twice, once in either direction. They're actually hauling logs to the ocean, I think, where they must be loading them onto a ship, or at least sorting them, getting them ready to load. I waved at the guy both times. He didn't acknowledge me, so maybe he's just unfriendly, or maybe just doesn't want to have to report me. But it's just starting to rain a little bit, and my rain gear is near the bottom of my pack. I was thinking. Spencer Dryland Sort. That's where I was planning on launching, so we'll see what it looks like when I get there. Well, I'm about 1 kilometer from the ocean. I have descended a long way and I don't really want to climb back up, so I'm gonna have to stop here and look at the maps and think about what to do. Well, it's too bad that they didn't have a sign farther up the road, because it's about at least a 10-kilometer walk if I want to go back and around to a different water access, and that would still involve a bushwhack. But it looks like there's a drainage down here beside the road, and it heads down obviously to the ocean. And if I just sort of follow that drainage, I should be able to get to the ocean within a kilometer. So it looks like rough going, but the alternative is to hike back up a big hill and then around for at least 3 hours probably. So I'm just gonna give this a shot and see what happens. If I have to bail out, I'll just come back here and walk out, but I could risk going down the road here and trying to hide from people, but I don't want to set that kind of example, and I want to respect their signs, so that's what I'm gonna do. Oh, it's very sweaty work hiking through this forest. I stopped to get a couple extra liters of water for my saltwater paddling. I can glimpse the ocean down there, and I'm tempted to just go straight down to the water, but I checked the satellite imagery and it looks like they use this whole bay. What they're doing is they're trucking the logs down to the ocean, sorting them into rafts, and then tying up the rafts of logs in the water. And then I assume tugboats come and pick them up, take them to the end of Alberni Inlet. Anyway, the point is this whole area is kind of used in the water. There's rafts of logs, and it even looked like there was a log boom all the way around it. So I don't want to be launching inside that perimeter. So I'm trying to contour around this hillside without losing too much elevation. But there's a cliff right there. So it's forcing me to either climb up and over or down and around. And I don't want to go down because it might just be cliffs down to the water. I want to have more options, so I'm going to go up. And it's very humid in here and I'm sweating because I got my bushwhacking layers on and extra weight. and I'm working hard. You might be able to hear the chainsaws and machinery working in the background. I'm having to push through this ridiculously thick bush, salal, and I'm not sure what this one is, cedar. I don't know how far I can get if it continues like this. This is like class 5 bushwhacking. Very slow. I'm standing up on top of a root ball and I'm getting my first proper look at the crossing. That's the north side of Alberni Inlet across there. Doesn't look too windy out there. Doesn't look too far away. I see a boat going by. So looks like a pretty good day for a crossing if I can just get to the water. I'm still dealing with this insane bush. I'm about 8 feet off the ground right now, and it slopes steeply down to the water, and that's the direction I want to go to get to the next little cove. Because I think if you look across the water, it's just cliffs over there. I figure it's probably the same on this side, except in the little bays, and even then it's iffy. So I'm gonna try my luck, hit the next little cove if I can get there. It's difficult to see when it's all covered in bush, but this is the steepness of the slope that I'm traversing. So it's slow going. This is what I'm trying to push through right now. It's mainly salal, which is very springy and strong. It doesn't like to break. It just bends and bends and bends, and then as soon as you release pressure, it springs back. So I'm finding it very difficult. So I've reached the top of a cliff. I can see the ocean just right below me. I don't know if you can see it from the camera. The bush is still really thick, but it's basically a straight drop down for 20 meters. I'm gonna try to explore in either direction to see if there's a gentler slope. Unfortunately, it's very difficult going, so I might be at it a while. I've made it almost all the way down this cliff, and there's a seal pup hiding in the cracks underwater, probably while its mother is out foraging. It's hanging out there. Every few minutes it comes up for a breath of air, and the rest of the time it's just wedged itself in between the rocks so that no predators can get it. That's really cool. I really don't want to disturb that seal pup, but I'm looking around for another place to launch, and I haven't found a better one, or even a suitable one. There's a bit of a ledge here that I think an otter walks along, because there's otter poo and then some remains of a bird. I didn't know otters ate birds, but it looks like a seagull. But I can't think of what else would be eating a seagull on a sea cliff. There's also lots of mussel shells, even 20 meters up. So I'm thinking it's an otter, because seals will come onto land, but they won't climb up cliffs like this. This is the best place I can find. This is where the baby seal was. I went looking for another spot, but I couldn't find anything, and then when I came back, it was gone, so that's good. Unfortunately, there are now whitecaps. I don't know if you can see them. I'm in a sheltered cove here, and farther out it looks to be pretty windy, so I'm gonna get set up and maybe paddle along the shore for a while and see how it looks. The narrowest point of the crossing is a little ways west of here, so I'll paddle over there if I can, if it's not too windy, and see if I feel up to the crossing. Well, I made it onto the water. It was a bit of an ordeal, but I'm paddling against the current. The tide is rising towards Port Alberni and the wind is blowing in my face. But sorry, the camera is tethered to my life jacket here. I was pretty shaky and nervous when I first got in. Hopefully the footage shows how difficult that was to launch. This whole stretch is just cliffs straight into the Alberni Inlet here. So I think the spot that I picked was about as good as it gets, other than where I wasn't allowed to go. That would have been perfect, but that's the way things go sometimes. I've got about a kilometer and a bit more to paddle into the wind before I decide whether I'm ready for the crossing. Right now I'm feeling pretty good about it. The clouds are starting to lift that way, but if they don't lift to the west as well, that might create an even stronger wind. So I'll just keep an eye on the whitecaps. There's still some whitecaps out there. I'm in a little sheltered spot right here, taking a break. This is one of the cruxes of this trip. One of the things that I've been most worried about is this stretch here and the crossing. And it's about a 10-kilometer paddle, and yeah, I'm just not used to ocean paddling. I haven't done it in years, so like anything, it comes back to you, but yeah, it's a little bit stressful. Well, I've reached the narrowest point, and the whitecaps out there seem to have died down. There's some blue sky showing to the east. Man, this is a rugged coast. No wonder nobody lives here. Okay, I'm gonna do it. And guess what? I made it. This side is just as rugged. It's all cliffs and virgin forest, I think. Doesn't look like any logging has ever been done over here because it's so steep. I would be hard pressed to land here if I had to, but fortunately my little boat is holding up. Oh, that's a gorgeous view. I'm glad I'm on this side now. That was one of the major hurdles of this trip. Not that it was difficult, it was more psychologically difficult for me. Now I'm gonna carry on. just taking a rest in the shelter behind this point. The wind has really picked up. There are lots of whitecaps out there and I'm being tossed around a little bit. I'm almost at the point where I can turn into Uchucklesaht Inlet. I'm hoping that's not where the wind is coming from. I'm hoping it's coming from the west, straight out from the Pacific. Uchucklesaht Inlet is more north-south, so hopefully, if anything, I'll have a tailwind, because I'm getting pretty tired of this headwind, and it's just getting stronger. At least I know I made the crossing at the right time. If I had arrived over there when it looked like this, I don't think I would have done it. This is my first look at Uchucklesaht Inlet. I've just rounded Brooksby Point, and now the wind is kind of a quartering tailwind. I'm not having to fight so hard, and the waves are already getting smaller. That's Strawberry Point right there. That's an island. I'm gonna go in the lee of that island and then follow the coast to the end of the inlet, and that's where I will make my way to Henderson Lake, the rainiest place in North America. What a beautiful, rugged coast. This is Kildonan. Mostly float homes. There's the Kildonan post office. Closed now. I'm too late. Pretty cool though. The sun is shining in Kildonan. Looks pretty wet over there where I'm going. Well, I'm finally on dry land. I've hit another roadblock though. I'll get into it later. Right now I have to figure out what I'm gonna do. I'm following an old road that I bushwhacked to through some nice forest from the head of Uchucklesaht Inlet. It's 8 p.m. now. I don't know if I'll be able to get to the lake and do anything today. But I don't really want to camp in this forest here. So, we'll see. I'm trying to scramble up this cliff, but it's a little too loose and unsafe. So, going back to the bush.